As we just heard, President Yoon's office was subject to a raid on Wednesday, and while his office is remaining silent for the time being, it seems to be bracing for further investigations down the line. We connect with Oh Soo-young, our correspondent standing by. Sooyoung, there is still silence coming from the presidential office regarding these developments, but what's the mood like and how would Yongsan be reacting to this?
Good evening, Chongmin. So yes, the atmosphere was tense when investigators arrived at around Wednesday noon as reported. And when I asked why the investigators' access was restricted, I was told that the Presidential Security Service have very strict regulations by law on entry to the premises. So the investigators were still to be negotiating with them to avoid these kind of legal contradictions. And minutes before our newscast began, the police are understood to have obtained relevant materials through voluntary submission instead of a search and seizure. So that's one development there. And, well, there's no official statement by the presidential office, of course, as Yoon's staff are remaining mum and limiting contact with media. The president's residence isn't subject to a warrant execution at this time, but as investigative authorities start closing in on President Yoon Suk Yeol himself, it seems the office is gearing up for a legal battle. President Yoon is reportedly seeking to form a legal defense team to prepare for various investigations and, of course, a potential impeachment proceeding against him. According to legal and political sources, President Yoon's office has been reaching out to legal professionals, including former secretaries from the presidential office and lawyers from prominent law firms, and some have reportedly declined to take on his case. If the impeachment motion is passed this weekend, then President Yoon and his defense team will have to counter both the treason investigation and the impeachment proceedings simultaneously. So in this case, the question would be whether there was an intent on President Yoon's part to undermine the constitutional order and also whether he caused a rebellion to the degree of substantiating treason.
Does the mood appear to be shifting towards impeachment this weekend?
Certainly, that's certainly the mood here. And, well, especially as we're getting indications that President Yoon himself would rather face a legal battle than step down voluntarily. And according to ruling party, People Power Party lawmaker Sooyoung, he told a broadcaster that the president himself seems determined to take the fight to court. And Supreme Council member Kim Jong-hyuk told another broadcaster that based on his interactions with Yoon's staff, resignation does not seem to be considered an option at this point. So some media reports say that Yoon's stance has actually been conveyed to the ruling party, and lawmakers considered pro-Yoon are actually warming to the idea. So the rationale for leaning towards impeachment is that it would allow more time until a snap presidential election is called, compared to resigning within 2 to 3 months, after which 60 days would be given to call an election. If an impeachment motion passes, the Constitutional Court has up to 180 days to issue a ruling, and a presidential election must be held within 60 days of that ruling. So this could extend the timeline for the election to as much as 8 months. The reason for division within the ruling party over the timeline of Yoon's departure from office has been the issue of what comes next, as an early presidential election would almost certainly favour the opposition party. The faction close to the ruling party leader, Han Dong-un, wanted an early resignation by the president within the next 2 to 3 months, while pro-Yoon lawmakers wanted at least 6 months and an amendment to the constitution to shorten the presidential term.
Our presidential office correspondent Oh Soo-young, thanks for the updates.